Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown, and I got my guy, you know who it is, Mr. D now, aka Mr. Get It Done. And when you see us on the screen, you already know what it is. It's Devy Darling's time before we get into it. D now, how we doing on this lovely Sunday night?
Not too bad. We just finished up a banger of a weekend of football, college wise. About to be followed up by another banger weekend. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's the fog in college football is starting to settle and clear, and it seems as though we're getting you know, the top tier guys what we seem to be. We just talked in the green room, Indiana, top 5 in the country.
Yes,
It's
sir.
it's getting interesting. But on this episode, this guy is out of the Sun Belt. Freshman. Kid's been cooking week after week. But it goes by the name of Ahmad Harvey. 5'10", 205 pounds. He's a 3-star recruit out of the 2024 class. He was born in Brookhaven, Mississippi, raised in Omaha, Mississippi, at 32 minutes apart, roughly. But he went to Lawrence County High School. That was in Monticello, Mississippi. He was running back, 153. Man, they missed, huh? All state in Mississippi, all conference, all MVP. You're talking about a dude that's motivated. He's got speed and power, 4'6", 40. Reading about this guy and just watching videos and watching film on him. I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's motivated. Like I said, he's watching, his mom struggle to get him to practice, put food on the table, and just work and break her back to make them better. Him and his 2 brothers and sisters. She did everything could. That motivates him every single day to work harder. So I mean, you're talking about a kid that understands it, and we're starting to see some starting to come about this young gentleman, Ahmad Harvey. Talk to me about Lawrence County High School with Harvey in his days back then.
Yeah, so at Lawrence County, he was a 3-year varsity player. Sophomore, he played 10 games, 113 rushes for 1,041 yards, 11 touchdowns. As a sophomore, he had 5 100-yard games. He only had 1 reception for 10 yards. Then his junior year, he played 8 games, 101 rushes, but he upped the numbers, almost 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, and he had 7 100-yard games. And then his senior year, it was the complete package. He played all 13 games, 220 rushes for 2,442 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 12 100-yard games. He had 5 receptions for 72 yards. And get this, he played defense. He played outside linebacker. He had 117 total tackles, 89 solo, 22 and a half tackles for loss, and 8 sacks, and 2 picks to sprinkle on there.
I mean, over 3 seasons of high school football. I mean, that's not bad playing both ways, but it fits the build. I can see this guy being an outside linebacker.
Oh,
I'm just loving the contact because that seems kind of to be the way he seems to play right now at UL-Monroe. UL-Monroe was kind of the only school out there that gave him an offer. And again, you're talking about a kid with a chip on his shoulder. The chip on his shoulder is about the size of Boulder, how he just keeps collecting rocks, bro, and just adding them to the pile here. Like I said, nobody kind of believed in him, but what I see some things, man, and what I'm seeing this year alone, but you got a kid, good size, right? Like I said, the kid's just under 6 foot, but 205, 210, depending on the scale and what college, weight room, locker room you're in. But he's got good pad level, and he is a violent runner who is tough to tackle. You're not coming at this kid with these lazy one-arm, like safeties and DBs, smaller guys. You're not tackling this kid like just throwing yourself at his legs. It's not happening. He's a grown-ass man, and this dude brings the boom, and I love everything about it with Hardy. Patient runner. I mean, he's not going to, shake you out of his boots, but he is shifty enough to make you miss. And I think kind of these linebackers and safeties in the Sun Belt have been underestimating how he can shift you out a little bit. And they're learning that they end up looking at the backside of his jersey. So what are some of the things that you've seen?
Yeah, for being a bigger running back, the first thing I've noticed is he is super smooth on his feet, like cutting in and out. It's not like bulky, kind of like, it's actually like a smaller back, kind of shifty. He's football fast. That 4.6, sure, that may not look the best, but when the pads are on, like you said, once he's past you, you ain't catching him. he falls forward on every single play. He drives the pile, never going to be tackled onto his back. With that, the feet never stop.
Right.
And like you said, he brings the boom, and he's never down on the first contact,
Yeah.
which is impressive for an 18-year-old kid. One thing I have noticed though is receiving wise, he hasn't had the opportunities I wish he would like, or I'm sure wish he would like, and as much as I would like to see, just to show us that he's the complete package at the running back position.
Yeah, I think the opportunities will come. Obviously in high school there wasn't. The kid was close to 200 attempts. Two junior and senior year, so they were kind of more pound the rock type team. But this year alone, freshman year at UL-Monroe, we got 2 games left. The kid's already at 180 attempts. So right out the gate, it looks like he's going to be that style of workhorse running back, which I think in our comps that we get to, those guys fit that mold as well. 180 attempts. He's got close to 1,000 yards, 977. I mean, unless he doesn't play for the rest of the season, my man's going to eclipse 1,000 yards. He's already got double-digit touchdowns with 10. Like I said, he has the receiving capability. Hasn't needed it really. Only has 5 receptions, 57 yards on the season. But when we're talking about running the ball and being violent, we talked about how it's, first contact's not taking him down. I mean, the guy's at 740 yards after contact out of 977 yards. Speaks for itself. 73 missed tackles forced. He's got 24 runs over 10 yards. This is what I like. For a bigger guy, right? I look at the breakaway percentage. You think that, the violent guys, those bigger guys, they're going to have the yards after contact. But he's got 422 breakaway yards, which accumulates to like 42% of his runs a breakaway. Like, I'm in on that for a guy at that size,
Mm-hmm.
And he's a chain mover. 43 first downs this year so far. PFF has been totally off with their grading, so I don't really want to talk about that. But he's kind of been somewhere in the mid-70s as a freshman, as a true freshman running back. I know it's a Sun Belt, but I'll take it. To boot, he's gone through 2 quarterbacks. Right now he's working with Aiden Ahmed's, but he started out with General Booty in the beginning of the season before, Booty got hurt. So he had 2 different, style QBs in there. As a true freshman, he's been the only real steady thing for the Warhawks, in that offense. You look at some of the games he's had. I mean, he's cooking right now. Week 7, 15. He had 15 attempts for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns against Southern Mississippi. Week 9 against Southern Alabama, he had 20 attempts for 102 yards. Marshall, he went off for 200 yards. Texas State had 105 yards. And then he had some good competition against SEC college competition. Average 4 yards per carry, 15 attempts, 6
I'll
yards.
take that. Yeah.
And a touchdown. Yeah, all day, bro. I will take that. UL-Monroe. Okay, now, mind you, they were getting blown out. Cam Coleman was scoring deep touchdowns left and right. And this kid was still cooking. They still went to the only thing that was steady in that offense, and he was able to do it. Like I said, his first time facing the big dogs. I will take 4 yards per carry as a true freshman and a team where they were stacking the box against, right? You know they were coming for him. So I'm with it. Talk to me about. I think it's a good not advantage, but I think that the room is made kind of for this kid to succeed because there was some senior guys. They may not have been seniors, but senior guys to him, and he kind of just took the room over.
Yeah, looking at this room, he's obviously the shining star of the whole room. Other running backs you got there are James Jones, who's a junior. He's got 43 attempts, 172 yards, a touchdown, 1 reception for 36 yards and a touchdown. Then you got Taven Curry, another junior, 27 attempts, 140 yards, 3 receptions, 22 yards. And then Azario Smith, another junior, only 7 attempts for 16 yards. So, I mean, when you put all those next to our guy Hardy, I mean, the proof is kind of in the pudding.
Yeah, it's understandable as to why this guy just kind of, took off in that room. He's like, I don't like the mongrel puppy, right? Like that guy's always going to fight for a little extra. He's always going to have a little bit more fight on. Like I said, that chip on the shoulder. I mean, this kid is just constantly cooking, and I love it. That's why I get to these comps. Now, both of my player comps had a little bit more receiving aspect to their game in college, all right? But I think that this kid has the capability to kind of fit, maybe in between both of these gentlemen. And like I said, the ceiling, if he hits the ceiling, I'll take it because it seems as though this guy's about to be possibly the lead back in Jacksonville next season. I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. Tank had like 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 60 receptions, almost 500 yards in his, career at Auburn. He was drafted in the 3rd round, right, to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2023 draft. And then, like the floor, I know he has had success at the NFL, but Texas and USC, he was good, man. Keontae Ingram, 500 attempts, 2,700 yards, 16 touchdowns. Another guy had 90 receptions for 675 yards. So I think like he could be in a mix of both of these guys. Both of those guys ran hard, angry, over 210, right? Ingram, I think, was like 6'1", so he's a little bit bigger in stature, but the style of play, like they're just physical guys that they're not going down on these one-arm first contact type things. If they get out of the hole with a little bit of oomph on them, watch out. Not super shifty, not like LaShawn McCoy, or Bijan, not gonna make you miss in a phone book, but shifty enough that if you don't respect it, like I said, you're gonna be looking up at him or looking behind him, checking out the numbers in the back of his jersey. So, what are your thoughts on the two comps? And here you guys.
I love the Tank Bigsby comp. I agree with you 100%. He's probably going to be the lead back there. And then Ingram, a lot of people, I don't want to say forget about Ingram, but like at the same time, forget about him. And he had a pretty productive career. Yes, it was granted, it was split between 2 places, but and he hasn't really done anything next level wise. But I like those comps.
All right, who you got? What are your guys?
All right, so I'm going to start mine. I got 2 guys where he fits now, and then 1 guy who kind of fits the same storyline, but is a GOAT. So my first one is Doug Martin, kind of the smaller stature, was a patient runner, always drove his feet, couldn't take him down first contact.
The muscle hamster, baby.
Yeah. Second one is Tyler Algier.
I love it.
Just the physical will knock the snot out of you kind of runner. Again, sneaky fast, doesn't really get as much opportunities to show that, but and a smooth cutter as well. And then this is like peak if everything clicks. I got Frank Gore. A lot of the talk about him when he was in Miami, he was slow, couldn't run fast, wouldn't make it at the next level, didn't have very good hands. And I just thinking back, like this kind of fits the storyline of our guy here. But at the same time, the running style is super similar. Was shifty enough. Frank Gore is probably one of the most patient running backs I've ever seen. And another guy, you never saw him getting tackled on his back. It was always forward, always drove those feet. And I mean, that's why he's the number 3 all-time rusher in the NFL.
You're talking about a guy that got injuries coming out of college, still didn't. Like, imagine if he never got injured. It's stupid. And there was like dog after dog after dog right behind him, too. And he still held his ground. They were like, oh, Frank's going to lose it to McKay. No. Frank's going to lose
never
it to
happened.
No. Like, Frank never lost it to anybody. The only thing that happened was his time to move on to the NFL. I love the Tyler Algier coming out of BYU. Like, he was kind of like not really known, but he was that physical guy. Always got around 1,500 yards. Constantly moving forward. Another guy that really didn't get the opportunity for the receiving aspect of it because it wasn't really in a BYU scheme. But sneaky shifty. We've seen that in his rookie year at Atlanta. Like we were kind of like, oh, well, maybe they won't take a running back the next year because he got 1,000 yards, right? And he looked pretty like he could be that bell cow guy. I like a little more of what I see in Hardy, but I love kind of like the mold of the Algier. You know what I mean? You could put him in there and then you add a little bit more spice with Hardy. I like that comp a lot. Frank Gore is the GOAT. So like if you
this would have everything would have to check and then some.
60% of Frank Gore, I'm all in. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I think anyone would be all in if they could get 60 of Gore.
My question to you is, okay, now they're having a good year, so that does help with retaining the gentleman's services heading into next season. But do you think that the Warhawks can retain him when it comes time for the portal and stuff like that? Like, he's probably going to be the bigger name. So, unfortunately, we have to talk like this with the NIL money. Will probably fade to his way, right? It'll probably start going his way. It's other bigger schools, and I'm not saying top P4 schools. But like if a Purdue or a Vanderbilt or a Wake Forest, or Florida State gave this gentleman a call, did you think that it would be better off for him to stay in the Sun Belt another year and see if he can stack a good another 1,000-yard season? Because he's only a freshman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you think that maybe if it's you strike while the iron's hot, and if these bigger schools who never looked at you before, now they'll look at you in the portal, do you make that jump?
This one's kind of tough. Like, honestly, for me, I think he should probably stay in the Sun Belt one more year, get a little bit more hype around his name, prove he could do it again. But at the same time, looking back into that quote that you said of what motivates him, if he wants to do that, he has to move to a bigger program.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he said his motivation is to make it to the NFL and pretty much tell mama she ain't got work no more. Like that's what he's playing. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just playing for himself and for the love of the game. He loves the game. He's been playing football since he was 5. You know what I mean? But like, it's about the family, which a lot of these kids nowadays, that's right. It's to get out of wherever you were, to get, whether it be the ghetto, the struggle, whatever it is. The struggle is he's tired of seeing his mom struggle to put food on the plate for kids. And if it is, hey, I got to make that P4 jump because that's going to be the best way for me to make it to the next one, then it is what it is. He has the capabilities, I think. Like, I think this kid, maybe not Alabama, you know what I'm saying? But I think this kid has the opportunity and the talent that if it's SEC school calls or Big Ten school calls, like if Caleb goes to the NFL and I was looking at a kid to run the rock, bro, I mean, this kid wouldn't be a bad.
I wouldn't hate it.
You know what I mean? Like he would fit that mold of just pound the rock, violent. I don't need first tackle's probably going to get by, and then you need 3.
Got him for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd eat it up. Yeah, 100%. But like at his position, he has to move on if he wants to make it, which it sucks because Sunbelt running backs aren't going to get as much of a look as your P4 running back. And it's just sad to say that.
Bro, he is the Warhawks. He has 45 yards less than Amanitas has passing. So he literally is like the best offensive player on the whole team. It's going to be real hard for them to retain his service, I believe. I think you're going to see this kid on a bigger stage next season. But I love your comps. And
Boise could use a running back after this year.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, and that would, most people say, oh, that's a lateral movement. I don't know if that's lateral. I don't know.
That's an uptick.
You see those boys at Boise State. If those guys up front return, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how many of those guys are going to return.
Yeah.
But that's what 2 years in a row of just churning out, yards after yards. I know Genty's a dude, but also the guys up front do help, and they've been running the ball heavily for a few years.
100%.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this kid's going to be a hot target coming in the portal for running backs in this next portal season. So, it's got to look out for Ahmad Harvey. Two games left, possibly 3. When they go bowling, I'm going 1,100 yards easy.
See, he's at 9. What is that number? 9.
I think he's at 997 right now.
Oh yeah, I would probably put him. The way he's going, I would probably put him closer to 12.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe even 1,300.
Almost 1,300. Yeah.
So 1,300 yards, probably 13 touchdowns as well. He's already at 10.
As a true freshman.
Yeah. Good. Kudos. I mean, Javion Thomas led the country last year at UNLV with 12. So this guy's probably going to be leading the country, as a true freshman, leading the country for true freshmen running the ball.
Yeah.
So, kid to look out for. I love him. I know you're a big fan of him now. Ahmad Harvey, Warhawks, UL-Monroe. I'm Nino Brown. That's my guy, D now. This is Devy Darling on the CFB Nation, and we out.